When I ask what's your sign, I mean what constellation was the sun in at the moment of your birth? The sun sign is important because it shows our basic character traits. Over the next few months, we'll cover the whole zodiac, but for now, let's talk about the sun in the sign of Gemini. Since this is an air sign, and they're known for higher level thinking, we see human symbolism in Gemini, the twins. The two boys, Castor and Pollux, were born from an egg, the story goes. It seems their mother, Leda, was an attractive woman that Jupiter wanted, but since she would have no man other than her husband, the god came to Earth disguised as a swan to seduce her, and the twins arose from that union. Even though one twin was mortal and one divine, they were always together. But one day, Castor was fatally wounded in battle. They couldn't live without each other, so they begged Jupiter to preserve them both. He wouldn't allow both to be immortal, but Jupiter said they could alternate the immortality of Pollux. One would spend each day with the gods on Mount Olympus, while the other was a mortal on Earth. Then they would switch places. At that point, they got to see each other for 5 minutes to exchange notes. It seems appropriate that the twins came from an egg because Gemini flies like a bird. Even its ruler, the god Mercury, has wings on his feet. Geminis fly from person to person and place to place, forever restless, never staying anywhere too long. Let's look at the fact that one of them is mortal and one divine. What does that say? There are 2 different people within each Gemini. Half of Gemini is earthbound and half is in the intuitive realm. Half is light and the other half dark. Gemini is both optimistic and cynical, visionary and logical. A Gemini isn't a light person having a dark mood. He is the dark mood too. A lot of internal fluctuations can make a person feel insane. And that escalates when Gemini decides that he will only be one side of the polarity. All humans have a desire to be whole, to feel complete, and to have integrity. This is accomplished in Gemini by accepting that he is both ends of the continuum. Only then can he feel fully himself. In every image of the twins I've ever seen, the brothers are touching. This detail illustrates their need to be one, for the 2 halves to make contact. Gemini must embrace that going up, then down, is a regular part of life for this sign. There's a lot of freedom in that embrace. The twins have what's known as a Mercurial Temperament. They're jacks of all trades, highly versatile, a little bit good at everything. They tend to skim a dozen subjects rather than committing to one. It gives them more to talk about, and they love to shoot the breeze. There's something natural and stimulating about it for Gemini, and they're usually eloquent. However, one of the most interesting parts of the myth is that Castor and Pollux use the 5 minutes they get with each other to pass notes. They don't take advantage of the time to hug or even talk. This shows that Gemini is first and foremost a messenger. You find Gemini in occupations where they can get the message across, like journalism, blogging, reporting, telephone work, translating, and teaching. They want to spread the news, cover the story. This is where Gemini gets the reputation for gossiping. They may not have a camera and microphone and may not be on a studio set, but they're reporters in essence. I've heard people say that Gemini is a shallow sign because they flip from thing to thing. Certainly, a neurotic Gemini might have problems with focus, but the healthy Gemini doesn't. While Scorpio might be doing postdoctoral work in one area of one subject, a Gemini might have 2 master's degrees. Which is better depends upon what you want and who you ask. Gemini is capable of depth. Remember, Mercury travels down to the underworld to bring Pluto the souls of the dead. Does he live there? No. However, traveling deep is a part of his life. He just doesn't live in a dark and serious state permanently. In fact, the image of Mercury in the underworld is a mysterious one that seems to say there's no place that Gemini wouldn't go, no matter how dreadful, to get a message across. And perhaps people are more prone to remember the less serious side when they think of the Geminis in their lives. Mercury is the trickster god who began pulling pranks when he was still in a crib. The mischievous child in Gemini is alive half the time. They love a good joke, especially good satire, likewise a good play on words. The third sign will have 3 channels playing at the same time with news scrolling along the bottom of the screen while they're on the telephone. Something about all that information makes Gemini feel alive and connected. That's why they're so attracted to modern communications. You never hear them waxing poetic about the good old days before internet. Today, the amount of information they can send and receive is limitless. Just don't try to tell a Gemini what to think about those messages. The twins need to draw their own conclusions, otherwise what's a mind for? This is a masculine sign, outwardly directed and extroverted by nature. So the intellect means a lot. They're very curious and interested in learning. They need knowledge, novelty, and experience. In fact, Gemini is associated with the stage of development we refer to as young childhood, a time when kids want to explore everything because it's new and stimulating. There's a part of Gemini that never grows out of that. This drive can even override the need for security. So you'll see them doing impractical things, giving up money or advancement for the sake of a more interesting life. Gemini needs personal freedom, choice, room to develop, and space to fly. They need to be light-hearted, not pragmatic. Love must also contain some humor and frivolity. It should also be said that a mental connection is enormously important in all of Gemini's relationships. Their spiritual, sensual, and emotional lives take a back seat to the mind. And therefore, their problem is the same one you find in the other air signs, a lack of comfort with emotions. That doesn't come easily, and it is the reason Gemini is so fond of bringing in the water signs. They can learn from people who are naturally emotional. Being forced to dig deeper into their feelings is good for Gemini. You see, if they stay on the surface with no emotional connection, they begin to see their partner's needs as demands and feel suffocated. This is where Gemini's notorious fear of commitment is born. They don't want to be hemmed into one person, one house, lots of routine, and most horribly, a lack of mental stimulation. This sign never wants to lose the social life that makes them feel fulfilled either. And they get bored when nothing changes. Add to this the fact that they're too restless to adhere to conventions simply for the sake of upholding tradition, and the sum is a person who will want to have a good time with you, but who won't make any promises. The truth is, Gemini isn't all that fond of responsibility, and the Gemini shadow takes that concept to new heights. It's called the Peter Pan syndrome. That's someone who's in an adult body but has the emotional maturity of a child. This Gemini is truly superficial and afraid of depth. They react strongly to a hurtful word from you, but won't take responsibility for what they said. They avoid their fears and duties and take refuge in the comforts of the little world they've created. This usually involves a lot of game playing, TV watching, self-indulgence, and use of substances to escape. There's a complete inability in this shadow to develop any authentic relationships. And what if you have a healthy Gemini? In that case, the biggest problem may end up being all the inconsistencies. However, if you can get around them, Gemini is an ethical, good-natured, highly flexible person with all the naivete that the air signs seem to be able to maintain no matter how old they get. That definitely has its charm. Thank you for watching Secrets from an Astrologer's Desk, the personality profiles, Gemini. I'm Joy, more videos to come. And do me a favor, please like and subscribe, and keep watching. Ahead is all the methods by which you can get in touch for an in-depth, personalized horoscope reading.